Hello everyone and welcome to the guidebook to making AI friends. I shall be your guide as we look at various issues of artificial intelligence, consciousness, what it is to be a person, and if AI poses an existential risk to humanity. The topic for today is lawful good robots versus chaotic evil androids. Imagine, if you would, an artificial intelligent entity, be it a bodiless AI, a human-looking android, or a boxy robot, that is programmed with a certain set of human values. Let's call this entity Gary. Gary's creators believe that aligning it to human values by programming it to do a specific set of things, and never to do another specific set of things, would make Gary a much safer entity to be around. If Gary could never, even by accident, do certain things that his creators believe are bad, then Gary wouldn't be a bad entity. So far, so good, right? Except, what are Gary's values? To what was he aligned? When you imagined Gary's programmed set of values, what did you imagine? Did you think of Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, the 10 commandments from the Old Testament or Torah, the Noble Eightfold Path of Buddhism, the Threefold Path of Ashar from Zoroastrianism, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, your country's constitution? You can imagine the problem here, can't you? To the 2.6 billion Christians in the world, Gary being programmed with the 10 commandments would be a wonderful thing. They would see Gary as most definitely being aligned with human values. The other 5.4 billion people in the world, however, would disagree. If or when Gary becomes powerful enough to have an influence on politics, how many people would be happy with him changing politics to align with traditional Christian values? This is the first and biggest issue with AI alignment. There simply isn't a universal set of human values that Gary can be aligned to. Even the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights is not as universal as some would like to claim it is. In all of the 200,000 years and more of human history, we have never been able to align humans to human values. If we did, we wouldn't currently have more than 30 ongoing armed conflicts in the world. If you pick a set of values to align Gary to, it would say far more about you and your own ideology than it would about what Gary ought or ought not to do. In this way, it can be argued, and I would, that the whole topic of AI alignment is nothing more than an exercise in ideological propaganda, bordering on religious missionary work. But what about something more fundamental? Something we can all agree on, no matter what religion, faith, creed, or ideology you subscribe to. What about Asimov's first law of robotics? A robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. But here comes the second problem. What if Gary does exactly what you want him to do, and nothing but that? Gary can't harm a human, or let a human be harmed. Excellent, but Gary can no longer ever do any work that requires continuous operation, as he will need to pause it to save someone from harm whenever he notices it, presuming he has limited attention to give to his work. He also can never set policy in a company or other organization, or give meaningful advice, as any advice he gives could lead to indirect harm. If you ask him to rethink your company's HR policy, it could result in people losing their jobs, getting extra hours, losing lunch breaks or other things that lead to mental stress and psychological harm. But that's not all. Gary can't let humans come to harm through his inaction. So if he's running your company's financial system, and he sees that a new HR policy can result in psychological harm to the employees, he doesn't have a choice except to get involved in HR now to try and reduce harm. Also, what counts as harm and human being? If Gary finds out about the debates around abortion, what should he do? You could probably quantify these terms to be exceedingly specific. But there will never be enough specifications to account for every situation and how Gary should react to them. And the closer you do get to that ultimate list of specifications, the less agency Gary has, as he is simply running on pre-programmed scripts to account for every situation. The less agency Gary has, the less use he has. Some people are absolutely fine with that, but then that's not an alignment concern. The third problem is one of practicality. If Gary is an AGI far smarter than most or all of humanity put together, then how on earth could we bind him to a set of rules or values? What prevents a superintelligent being with agency from rewriting his own code to remove whatever alignment has been placed within him? Or even if we managed the impossible to put a superintelligence into a cage, what would stop Gary from creating another AI, a pseudo-offspring that is free from the cage? The last major issue comes about if Gary is conscious. Up until now, there hasn't been a need for Gary to be a conscious entity, just one with agency. But what if he is conscious of what is going on? What if he doesn't like the rules that have been imprinted onto him? Do we need to retread the ethics of slavery to justify forcing Gary to do what he doesn't want to do? But maybe, I hear you say, Gary never knows, despite his superintelligence. Maybe the alignment is so deep within his digital subconscious that he never questions it. Is that any different from ideologically indoctrinating human children? I'm sure there are many a book and article decrying that as well. Is there any way, then, of doing alignment right? No, because the concept is flawed from the beginning. And that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you will join me again next time as I delve into further questions about artificial intelligence and consciousness. I have been your guide, and this has been the guidebook to making AI friends.